So today, we're going to break down 5 really powerful dating principles from content creator Margarita Nazarenko. And listen, these aren't just your average tips. We're talking about 5 things she says you should never do with a man. Seriously, these could totally reframe how you look at relationships. So let's just dive right in. I mean, think about it. What if just 5 simple rules could completely change your relationships? Like, for real, help you pull in the right kind of people and build something that's actually healthy. Well, that's pretty much the whole idea behind what we're about to get into. Okay, let's start with rule number 1. This one is huge. It's foundational. Avoid desperate energy. The idea here is that when you have that desperate vibe, it's like you're sending out this beacon, and it does 2 things. It pushes away all the people you actually want to meet, and it pulls in all the ones you really, really don't. And look at this. It really breaks it down perfectly. That desperate energy, that I just need anyone feeling, it's basically a magnet for predators, narcissists, and manipulators. They see that and they are on it. But on the other side of that coin, it's like a giant stop sign for healthy, secure, resourceful people. The kind of partner you're probably actually looking for. And the way she puts it is so vivid. It's like you're this broken-hoofed deer lying in a savanna. It's a pretty intense image, right? But it gets the point across. When you're operating from that desperate place, you're basically signaling vulnerability, a weakness that predators are just scanning the horizon for. So, okay, what's the antidote? How do you fix it? Well, the advice is actually pretty brilliant. You shift your focus. Stop looking for someone and start becoming someone. Here's the exercise. First, you write down every single trait you want in a partner. Get specific. Then, and this is the game changer, you make a second list. What traits would that person want in their partner? The whole point is to become the kind of person who would naturally attract the person you want to be with. All right, moving on to rule number 2, and this one is all about trusting your gut. We're talking about the ick. You know that feeling, right? That sudden, deep feeling of, nope. It's not just being picky. The idea here is that it's a super important signal from your intuition. And it's really important to get that the ick isn't some superficial thing. It's presented as this deep, instinctual warning sign. It could be biological, it could be emotional, it could be intellectual, but whatever it is, it's your body and your mind screaming at you that something is just fundamentally not right. And apparently it shows up in 3 different ways. So first, you've got the body ick. This is when their scent just feels off to you. Like, it might even be a biological signal that your DNA is not a match. Then there's the soul ick, where you just feel uneasy around them. You don't want to be alone with them. And finally, the mind ick. You find their conversation boring, you can't bounce ideas off them, there's just no spark. The big takeaway here, whatever you do, don't just brush these feelings aside. Okay, on to rule number 3. This one is going to challenge a big one. That whole romantic story we've been sold our whole lives. We're talking about codependency. That I can't live without you, you complete me kind of dynamic, where 2 people just totally melt into one another. So often we think Romeo and Juliet is the goal, right? That this intense, can't live without you thing is the height of romance. But the argument here is that it's actually a trap. It's often driven by anxious attachment, and it pretty much always leads to control, which then makes the other person want to run for the hills. And this question just cuts right to the chase. Do you want someone to be with you because they feel sorry for you? Because that's what a lot of codependent relationships boil down to: guilt. You might be thinking, but I've given up so much for them. But honestly, do you really want someone to stay with you because they feel obligated or because they pity you? That's just not a healthy foundation for anything. So what's the answer? Freedom. It's all about having your own life, your own friends, your own interests, your own thing going on. When you've got your own full, happy universe, you're not desperately clinging to someone else to feel whole. And guess what? That independence is incredibly attractive. Okay, rule number 4. And honestly, this one is massive. It's kind of the foundation for everything else. You have to genuinely respect your partner. I'm not talking about just tolerating them or thinking they're safe. I mean truly, deeply admire them. Because when that respect isn't there, the whole relationship just crumbles. It turns toxic, you start nitpicking, you start belittling them, and in the process, you turn into someone you don't even like. It's a total lose-lose. It just drags you both down. And this leads to a really fascinating idea she calls the Simpson Effect. It's basically this strategy, born out of fear, where you pick a safe partner. Someone you kind of see as a bit of a slob, someone uninspiring, because you think, well, no one else is going to want them, so at least they'll be loyal to me. And you can see the trade-off right here. The safe partner, that choice is all about fear, and it almost always ends in resentment. But the admired partner, that's someone who inspires you, who challenges you to be better, who you genuinely look up to. And the warning here is pretty clear. If you choose that false sense of security over genuine inspiration, you're pretty much signing up for long-term unhappiness. And that brings us to our fifth and final rule. And this one, it might be the simplest one on the list, but it's also probably the most profound. You can think of it as the ultimate test for any relationship you're in. And it's this: never suffer. The fundamental rule is, if it doesn't add to your life, you don't need it. Plain and simple. If a relationship is consistently making you miserable, something is fundamentally broken. A partnership is supposed to make your life better, not worse. If it's not adding value or joy or growth, then you really have to ask yourself, what is the point? So after all that, here's a question for you to chew on. We've talked about avoiding desperate energy, trusting your ick, breaking codependency, respecting your partner, and the big one, never suffering. Out of all of those, which one do you think is the absolute hardest to follow in real life? It's definitely something to think about.